I'm Mike Stewart, the President and National Director of Faith Riders Motorcycle Ministry. This is a ministry that began in February 2002 in Lakeland, Florida, by my great friends Buddy and Michelle Newsom. They had a vision to start a motorcycle ministry to reach lost bikers. February 2021, now 19 years later, we have grown to 373 chapters in 29 different states and 2 in Cuba. All of our chapters are in Southern Baptist churches. Today, I thought it would be great if you could hear from 3 pastors. Have them share with you how having Faith Riders in their church has impacted them personally, their church, and their surrounding areas.
Well, I want to say hello and introduce myself. I am Benny Reynolds, pastor of Peniel Baptist Church down in Palatka, Florida. I really didn't know what was going to be going on when the Lord brought me this direction from Alabama to Florida back in 2003. But I knew going this close to Daytona Beach, with my love for a motorcycle, there had to be some sort of a ministry among the bikers. I've tried that in other areas, not on a very large scale, but some good success in reaching people through the motorcycle ministry. So I knew God was up to something. And then I went to the state convention, the Florida Baptist State Convention in Jacksonville, Florida, back in 2004. Typical day, a pastor's conference, good preaching, good singing, but I come to the exhibit area and there is a motorcycle sitting in the middle of the exhibit center, and I meet a Buddy and a Michelle Newsom talking about a group called Faith Riders, just getting it started, trying to introduce it to the convention and pastors in Florida. And I was fortunate to be able to come and meet them, because when I heard them talk about Faith Riders as a church ministry, I knew as a pastor I was on to something. So I talked to them. I went back to my church. I talked to the 3 or 4 that I had that rode with me and said, I think I have found what we've been looking for in a ministry. Because when I found that this was a church ministry, it was far more than anything I had seen thus far. So I began to check this out, so to speak. I went to Nashville with them to the Southern Baptist Convention to ride with Buddy and the others and see what they were doing. Got to know it better and better, and next thing I know, in 2005, we become the 10th Faith Rider chapter to be commissioned. And what a ride it's been. Because what I found out is you want to get a group in your church that love the Lord, love people, want to minister, and they want to share the gospel with someone. The love for the motorcycle was right up their alley. And what a great time it's been all these years now. Let me give you a few statistics, so to speak. Had to write them down to make sure you heard them all. But when we first got ours started, we had 12 people, I think, in 4 or 5 motorcycles. And we began to look at these biker classes that were going on in some of these groups. So I said, that's what we need, a Bible study group. So what we call Sunday school, many call it life groups or small groups, we started a biker class. We took leadership there and plugged them in and began to disciple them. And what a great way to do this. And then I began to see our church get excited about it, and many in our congregation began to back it, so to speak, fund it to some degree, and some getting involved, and it just began to grow. I think that the best way to grow a church, to be a strong church, is through the small group Bible study ministry. And the best way to grow a Faith Rider group, I think, is through a Bible study class. You disciple them, you minister to them, you put them out into ministry. Here's where we started. We have reached, over these about 15 years, 110 people in this group. At least that many have joined us, committed to it. Out of that, sure, we've had many move away. We've had 5 or 6 that have deceased that were amongst our numbers. We've had some just kind of back off and not get involved anymore, but we still have, as of this week, 44 members working diligently, trying to be a part of a ministry that's in a difficult time. But this past week, our leadership team met. 20 people came together to look ahead the next few weeks and months. What can we do now to reach out, minister, and encourage people?
Hi, I'm Tom Armbruster, and I am the Associate Pastor at London Bridge Baptist Church in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I am excited to tell you that we have a Faith Riders chapter at our church, actually since we got commissioned in 2009. It's an interesting story about how that came about, but for quite a period of time, both my wife and I were riding motorcycles. We were actually, it was a God thing, gifted with a motorcycle back in 2006. We were sort of looking for, wonder how we might be able to use that, and then we discovered there were some other folks at London Bridge. We knew them, we just didn't know they rode motorcycles. And so we started talking amongst ourselves, wouldn't it be great to be able to have some sort of a motorcycle ministry? And so we were actually looking for something when we discovered Faith Riders, and we're just so excited to have been a chapter now since '09. Let me tell you, pastors especially, how that's been beneficial to London Bridge Baptist Church. Right at the beginning, we started what we called a Bikers Bible Study, and it didn't take long for that to grow so fast that we had to birth a class out of that. Now, what's interesting about the Bikers Bible Study classes is about 50% of them don't ride motorcycles. They just love Jesus, and they love being loved on, and that's what Faith Riders do. Faith Riders has opened some awesome doors mission-wise at London Bridge Baptist Church. So the Daytona Bike Week became one of the 2 national mission trips that we have at London Bridge. Because they're church-wide mission trips, they're obviously open to everybody, not just people who ride motorcycles. And it's been phenomenal to see life change. What I always tell people, first time going down to Daytona is get ready, because you're going to come back with a holy boldness that you didn't have when you left. And I've never seen that to not be the case. We've had the opportunity to participate in what's called the Pungo Strawberry Festival. It's in Virginia Beach. It's on the outskirts of the city limits, but it's been happening annually for a long, long time. And Faith Riders was actually invited about 3 years ago to come set up our tent. They didn't know exactly what we did, but they just invited us to come do what we do. And so we hadn't even budgeted any money for that, but we came up with money to buy a little motor scooter, and it was just phenomenal. I think we ended up with 37 or 39 people who prayed to accept Christ, and that's over 2 days, 100,000 plus people. Just so exciting. And then I know that any pastor would be excited to hear what Faith Riders does with our student ministry. So for a year or two, Faith Riders and Ladybugs both have been involved in our student ministry, and one of the things they've done is to the ladies take the girls and the men take the boys and the young men, and they'll teach them about sharing their faith. They'll teach them how to put together a 3-minute testimony, and man, how that has it's been phenomenal to see those students be so open to that, learning how to do that. So at London Bridge Baptist Church, I think without question, Faith Riders Motorcycle Ministry is the tip of the evangelistic spear at London Bridge. And so we're just blessed to have a Faith Riders chapter there. We're just blessed to be a part of Faith Riders. It is an awesome ministry. So I would encourage any pastor who doesn't have a Faith Rider chapter, I bet you anything, whether you know it or not, if you ask a few questions, check around a little bit, you got somebody there who rides a motorcycle. And it's just another opportunity to share the gospel with a lost and dying world.
I'm glad you're watching right now. It shows that you have a great interest in motorcycle ministry. I've had the wonderful privilege of working and serving alongside many, many people over 19 years in a ministry called Faith Riders that reaches motorcyclists and many other folks. Back in 2002, I was preaching at the church at the mall at the time. Now it's the Lakes Church in Lakeland, Florida. And there were motorcyclists everywhere, a lot of leather. And I just asked the question, how many of you ride motorcycles? And looked around, and it seemed like half the church stood up. Over 200 did stand up. I just purchased my first Harley Davidson since I was a teenager. And I thought, my goodness, here's an opportunity for me to get to know about a motorcycle ministry. It was a small Sunday school class, and grew and grew and grew to where they had over 200 people participating in those classes. I went up to the director, Buddy Newsom, and I said, Buddy, we've got to spread this across the state of Florida. And we began to do so. and chapter after chapter was birthed. And then it went from the state of Florida nationally. And God has given me the opportunity of traveling nationally over these 19 years in the ministry that I do. I've been in all 50 states preaching and teaching the gospel, 17 foreign countries, and every time I go somewhere, Faith Riders is part of my heartbeat and part of my declaration of encouragement to the local church. I'll find out, hey, do you have any motorcyclists in your church? I'll talk to the pastor, sometimes the pastor even rides. And I'll challenge that church to become a part of a ministry that's reaching literally thousands of people every year. Every year, these 27 states, which now incorporate 373 different chapters, all local church-based, are spreading the good news of Jesus in many, many different ways. I love teaching and training how to share your personal testimony in 3 minutes and giving the gospel of Jesus in those 3 minutes. It's life-changing for me, life-changing for those who go out and put to practice what they're sharing with others about Jesus. They're actually sharing Jesus literally face-to-face, one-on-one with people about the good news of Jesus and the way He changes our life. And I want to encourage you, if you do not have a ministry of this nature, reaching people that most churches will never reach, I pray that you'll get involved in Faith Rider ministry. I pray that you'll go online to faithriders.com and check out what we have there. It'll give you all the information that you need to get involved with one of the most exciting, intentional, evangelistic ministries a church can have. God bless you. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your insight and encouragement. Pastor, if you're considering starting a Faith Rider chapter in your church, if you would like to see the lost reached in your area, would you please go to our website of www.faithriders.com and click on chapters and then start a chapter. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.